What's up, guys? Tawok here, and this is the Spicy Sausage. We are here with the one, the only, the legendary Lukenbacher. What's up, man?
I don't know about all that, but hey, what's going on, everybody? It's good to be back.
We are joined by, once again, Mr. Blonde.
Howdy, folks.
And
I
a
don't really
howdy
have
do.
anything better for an intro. I'm just going to go with the howdy do. I didn't get a sweet fucking and Mr. Blonde, leader of the First Men, bootlegger.
And Mr. Blonde, the one, the only, 15 and 0. There, you happy? You feel good? So what's up, gentlemen? How's your week's been?
It's been busy, man. Been going through some interviews and went to an incredible wedding last night and partied my ass off and slept in this morning. So it's been a pretty good week so far.
Nice. This past week, I got into fucking PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and that game is a fucking rush.
Yeah, I've been catching a lot of strings of that stuff, man. I've been kind of intrigued by it.
All right, how am I coming through now?
You're sounding good on my end, bud. Yeah, sounding pretty good.
All right. I don't know if my sensitivity was off or I jiggled the keys or something, like my USB cable came loose a little bit, or what just happened. I apologize, but
well,
I don't know.
Whatever.
Quit doing so much jiggling, and maybe your mic will work a little bit better for you, bud.
I didn't have much to include. I'll just admit.
So what's good? What did I miss? What's been going on in the last 2 years?
Oh, my lord.
There's been a couple community developments. I'm sure you've been keeping tabs on like fan projects and stuff like that.
Dude, I've been I've been incredibly busy, but of course I love my community and my peeps. So I've popped in for here and there. I just maybe haven't had time to read like every post and every thread like I used to. But I've caught a few little things. I probably can't name all the projects and all the people involved, but I've kept tabs when I've had time.
Yeah.
Tell me some more about some of the hot stuff that's been going on.
Well, there's Task Force is I'd say the newest joint that hopefully going to be at least seeing some development. Obviously, another PC kind of thing, a full game this time, not just a mod from the gentleman that made it. So you've got that going on. Obviously, HHOUR is still persisting somehow.
Which just got ladders.
Just got jump to climb as well.
Did it really?
I could be wrong, but I thought they were the same update.
I know that was coming soon, but I played since the ladder update, and I don't remember Jump to Climb being in, but I know it's very soon.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten to play it yet. I do have a free key for HHOUR, but my computer doesn't seem to want to run it, so I might have to go play that somewhere else.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. Plier cannot run it either, and that's just unfortunate. You can't even try it.
That's weird. I might have the same problem. I don't know if it's just when we downloaded it or what. But
so, I mean, other than HHOUR, the big thing is X-Link. You know, I know you've been playing a few days here, Luke. But yeah, we've just been doing the whole community nights on Wednesday and Fridays at therealsocom.com. That's been like the big movement. And then there's also the E-Seals League, where guys are getting together and having a very competitive league for this shit. So
that sounds amazing, dude. Like X-Link wise, I hadn't played in forever, so like. My PS2 and everything was still boxed up in the closet in the man cave and all that good stuff. So after I left Psionics, I kind of wanted to kind of jump in the scene and see what was going on and dug everything out. And I guess I've played probably 3 or 4 nights now. So after being away from X-Link for 2 years, I was pretty impressed at how smoothly it runs now. Granted, I used to do the whole wireless bridge connection bullshit, and now I'm doing like hardwired through the router the way they recommend. But man, like S2, I used to never be able to finish even a single map. And now I've been able to play 3 or 4 maps before I get booted. CA runs really, really smooth now. I don't have to download all these crazy, shortcuts to orbitals. I can just right click and do all those changes.
The orbitals.
That's a big improvement.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then also, don't forget, like, I've been gone a long time. So the last time I was here, we used TRS and Skype was like everything we used. And so now, Discord's is blown up and it's an amazing tool. And so getting to dive into Discord and even doing this podcast from Discord as opposed to Skype and being able to jump in different mic channels and get organized with the community and be able to, have an instant chat kind of type of a forum. It's awesome, dude. Like there's all these awesome new tools for me to come back in and X-Link, dude. X-Link's been a blast. It's been an absolute blast coming back. And I've had really, really good experiences. And I had to reset up everything, and it only took me like 5 or 10 minutes. So, and I even yesterday, I was talking to you guys about this before we went live. I wound up ordering the free McBoot memory card. So now I can do the new ISOs and all that stuff from Harry's work that he's been doing. So yeah, man, like X-Link's looking good right now. I've been having a blast.
It's looking good, and the numbers are definitely up from where they were 2 years ago. They had a period of like very, very fast growth. You know, like we'd see 51 week and then 60 and then 70, and just records kept getting broken. And then it sort of calmed down a little bit, but it has become just a generally more populated game, in that you can find a game pretty much any time, I think.
We did break
I've never
100
been
people
on-
logged in.
No shit.
Oh yeah, we made it that far.
Between
I even
SOCOM
saw
2 and
the-
Combined Assault, yep.
I even saw the whole E-Seals thing that's been going on. Like a bunch of clans are, trying to, kind of, I don't know, how do you explain this? Kind of, SOCOM. It's crazy because I just came from 2 years in a career in gaming and esports, and then as soon as I come back, I've got a group of guys that are pretty much doing what helped create MLG. The old school E-Seals and the original clan wars, and seeing these guys come back on X-Link like right when I'm coming off of that it's kind of like the perfect
Good
welcome
timing,
home present. Yeah, it's crazy, man. So seeing all those clan wars and all that stuff happen on X-Link already, man. I don't know, dude. It's it almost looks like X-Link is really significantly grown since the last time that I came around, and the experience is so much smoother. I'm curious to see how much bigger that's going to get.
Yeah, same here. I was kind of torn on the whole E-Seals thing to begin with, because I was worried. I think a couple of people were too, that it would sort of split the community up a little bit, as in terms of when you'd go on X-Link, you'd see a bunch of dudes playing an E-Seals match instead of a pickup war or something like that. That might be a little bit more open. But at this point, I'm just sort of glad that they're in the private rooms facing each other instead of fucking pasting me over and over. So,
well, my viewpoint on it is that it's just awesome to see that instead of logging in and hoping there's enough people on X-Link to find a room, that's not really that big of a problem right now. And so
It's becoming damn near an all-hours thing.
Now it's evolved to where we want to kind of have clans back. Like, to me, since there's not an online server, like stat tracking, like legitly tracking that, I know that there's like some new stuff that's been patched and stuff that people are hoping to achieve that on a mass level. But X-Link right now is kind of a mixed bag of some stuff that's being tested, and just kind of the old school X-Link straight up SOCOM 2, the way it came out of the box kind of experience kind of thing. So I think like the E-Seals is kind of offering kind of that competitive landscape, or the foundation or whatever, that online stats and that hunger to be the best or whatever can't really be represented, but it can be represented if you're in a group that's constantly on there, and there's constantly an audience or a group that's trying to become better than you or beat you or whatever. Just to see that X-Link is even tinkering around into that next level is really exciting, because before it was just, you log in, there's 3 people, what do? You just log right back off, and nothing happens. And then maybe one night a week or one night a month, we actually get a full room going. And now it's like, I think there's like 3 rooms going on SOCOM 2 right now, and there was a full room almost on CA on Sunday night, and it's already 9 o'clock West Coast. So, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think in retrospect, I'm starting to think that there's definitely a sect of SOCOM people that would be interested in playing X-Link if there was that competitive atmosphere that is now starting to take shape. And that might be the hook for them, whereas the hook for you or me or anybody that sucks as much as me is just being able to play again. And it also helps to have a group of people like the TRS guys that I can sort of hang with every now and then.
Yeah, and I don't want to get it twisted. Like, I don't want to sit here and talk about like the old SOCOM pride and competition is back, because X-Link isn't perfect. There's still a lot of latency, and it's not really. It was kind of like a laggy night on SOCOM 2 back in the day all the time. It's not perfect. So I don't think that people are going to like take it extremely seriously, but I think the nostalgia and the fun and just wanting to see it happen again. Just want to see those clan tags popping up and just see some old rivalries and some new ones, actually just throw down, even in like a fun-hearted competitive spirit. I think it's all really good things for X-Link.
That's what I've been talking with Harry a bit whenever I can in the Discord or on the forums or whatever, who's making the patch, for those who don't know. I think we already covered that though. he's introduced a lot of stuff that's very helpful for that. Like the most recent change that I think a lot of people are really excited about is in a patched game, spectators can actually spectate like both sides, and they're like color coded and stuff like that. And I find that really interesting because
as an esports guy, that's brilliant for casting, right? Like you can actually jump in and spectate and put on some kind of production, whether it's live coverage of casting or even if it's shoulder content where you're just recording, camera angles of the action and then overlaying, play-by-play of the action after the fact, and then kind of putting that on YouTube or whatever. I think things like that gives an opportunity for the SOCOM community to generate interesting new content with SOCOM itself, with kind of a modern mainstream type of thing right now, because esports is really, really blowing up. Just having a little fun with it. I know as an esports guy or anybody that's in the industry or even some old pros, because SOCOM fans are everywhere. They may not have played SOCOM in 8 or 9 years, but they're playing other games. They'll remember SOCOM if something pops up. We've all learned that. We've seen SOCOM hit the front page of Reddit countless times for whatever reasons.
Yep.
Just a random picture from some random guy.
And it's not TRS or anybody or guerrilla marketing or anything. It's just some random fan, and it just blows up. We know that there's people out there who remember SOCOM and used to love SOCOM. They just haven't had anything to play,
Yeah, I've seen random YouTube videos just in my recommended feed from people that I don't even know, people that I've never even heard of, that are just like, yeah, here's 30 minutes of me playing SOCOM again. And I look, and it's got like 30,000 views, and I'm like, who's watching this and who's making this? And
yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I just started doing the speed runs for SOCOM 1, and by doing that I discovered a kid that's done SOCOM 3 like hardcore down to like seconds and shit. And like he's never heard of like TRS or anything like that. He's like, I just did this and then I put it on speedrun.com and that's all I did.
Yeah. I mean, in TRS, you got to remember too, man, TRS is still old school. Like the modern way that gaming companies and developers and publishers, interact with their communities is a lot different than. There's some similarities, but there's a lot of differences now than the way it was done back in the old days. With an official forum, an official blog, an official website.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff now is handled on Twitter and Reddit. I mean, like even for Rocket League, I mean, technically they have a forum, but it's not used that much. But Reddit is kind of the place where a lot of promotion takes place and a lot of interaction with the fans take place. And it's interesting to see that because I'm used to a publisher having a tight rein on moderation and owning a forum, and then you go work for a gaming company that has an incredible game that's blowing up. It's amazing, and Reddit is controlled by community people, and it still works. And the developers are pushing information, and interacting with their community there the same way they do on Twitter when they own their own Twitter handle and their own accounts and all that good stuff. But it's just amazing to just see how that landscape has changed a lot. And I think anything that we could do with new SOCOM content and anything that we can do that's kind of in the spirit of kind of these new channels and new outlets and new platforms is really good because in the old days, it was like we would have to scream on top of a mountaintop to try to get people to come to this old, dark website, And what I see now is just this landscape of honeypots of gamers. They're all congregating for different reasons at different places. And I think if you just start dropping SOCOM content and a place to congregate and a discussion to be built around it, that you can grow a community a lot faster than trying to point them all to one specific spot. Because let's face it, I mean, the SOCOM community is completely splintered and it's scattered. It's in more ways than one. Our spirit, what games and flavors we're playing, what platforms we're on now. I mean, shit, we lost half our fan base to Steam. I mean, everything has really, really, really changed. I'm really excited to see like a breakthrough. Like we never had anybody mod SOCOM, right? Like we raised a humongous fucking Kickstarter for another company to try to build us a game like SOCOM with David Sears. When we have a guy Harry, almost like a one-man show down there, starting to mod the game. It's an interesting step, and I think he's doing God's work, so to speak, if you ask me.
Yeah, no kidding.
And honestly, as a former dev and knowing or just everything I learned as a gamer on the inside, outside, whatever you want to call it, and Sony and PlayStation, I think it would speak volumes if we were able to bring big numbers to the actual IP. That removes any kind of incentive for profit. That kind of removes any intentions other than just we fucking love SOCOM. It's not another website trying to get traffic, preying on nostalgia. It's not a company that's independent that sees a fan base ready, prime for the plucking if they make the right game for them. It's really just everybody saying, hey, we love this game and we refuse to let it die. I think that could speak amazing volumes to the people who own those copyrights and those IPs. And so I'm just real excited to see this, man. Just seeing X-Link, I thought X-Link was going to kind of dry up and die away, and it's kind of been reborn. And then there's all these other efforts I've heard about taking place in case X-Link can't handle it, or if they ever go down, or just other avenues that can maybe open up more users like PC users and PS2 users, all into the same server. Or I've heard something about Project Confrontation, which is really ambitious, and all kinds of stuff. It's exciting to see that the torch is still carried and it's still moving in different directions and in different ways. I think we have a lot of talent in our community. Like, we really do. We have a lot of people out there that are great in art. They're great when it comes to IT stuff and server work. They're great at programming. We're all a little dysfunctional in our own ways, I think, and me included. And I think that everybody just kind of united and put all their heads together, whether that was towards multiple efforts, whether that was towards one humongous effort, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm on board.
Real quick, we have a really great question in the chat that I think would be great to segue into. Who is Lukenbacher?
Oh, shit. All right. So
who fucks this guy?
So basically, I'm an old school SOCOM fan, right? I did not play SOCOM and experience it during the prime of SOCOM 1. I was a SOCOM 2 baby and played SOCOM 2, got my ass just handed to me for a long time on SOCOM 2. And after about six months, I'd say, of playing and having a good clan, it was more about the social aspect, right? Because there were times I didn't enjoy playing it because I wasn't very good at it. But the guys I was playing with and the things they were doing and just watching them clutch shit inspired me. I was like, if they can do it, I can fucking do it, right? Like, I'm going to get there. And so I cut my teeth on SOCOM 2. Basically, I didn't really emerge outside of the game into stuff like SOCOM.com and get involved with YouTube and things like that until there was kind of some problems with SOCOM. It was more toward combined assault and confrontation, like during those years. And basically, I was just a guy posting on SOCOM.com with a lot of people and getting in some debates, and I brought out some good points every now and then. And I guess some of the guys that were kind of doing a really active there got together and started doing a podcast, and it was called SOCast. So we started doing this podcast, and we started posting it up on SOCOM.com, and people enjoy it. The developers recognize it and reply in the thread, and we get all excited and all this other shit. And we're like, well, we're doing something good. So we put out a few episodes. We wound up building a website that later became the Real SOCOM.com. At that time, I think it was called SOCOMIV.com, like for SOCOM 4, because SOCOM 4 had been announced. It's before we knew anything about the game. We just knew a new SOCOM was coming.
Still hanging on to the Roman numerals.
Yeah, pretty much. And then there was another guy who had written a lot of blogs back in the day, David Dole, really cool guy. He was good on podcasts too. He had an old blog called The Real SOCOM. We really liked the name of it. And so we basically absorbed that site and took the name. Their following came over, merged with our following. David became part of our staff. And it was me, Rev, HTK, David Dole, and then of course Dominique, Dom, and then we brought in War Machine, and we've had some mods that were kind of did a lot more than just being moderators. But anyways, HTK wound up being hired by Zipper Interactive, one of the founders of the website. So basically, we built this website. We were noticed by Zipper and Sony, and we did a contract with them where we did a video version of our podcast, and we were putting it on PlayStation Home at the time, and we had like our little digital hoodies and stuff with their logo. It was like fucking crazy. And we wound up flying out to Seattle to Zipper Interactive and got to meet all the devs with 18 of the community members, and got to play SOCOM 4 before it released and all that good stuff. And then we were on the front lines of the HHOUR Kickstarter and helping out that studio raise some money and working with Mr. Blue and my old friend Justin. Yeah, man. And then so basically just been active, man, as a founder and active poster on the realsocom.com and TRS, and doing SoCast podcast. I got some really shitty videos on YouTube that I've done over the years. And then 2 years ago, I was hired to be the esports and events manager for Psyonix, who is the developer that created Rocket League. So for the last 2 years, I've been building a pro league, global championship, and doing events worldwide and big tournaments and working at a gaming studio. And just left that company, and I'm currently interviewing for my next adventure. And while I had this time off, I wanted to plug into the SOCOM community for as much as I could while I have the time.
Sort of tune in for a minute to figure out what you've missed. See, this whole thing is just going to be a 2-hour edition of while you were sleeping from like 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Does this still exist?
So that's basically it in a nutshell, man. That's who I am. I'm just a fan like everybody else, and finally got to cut my teeth in the gaming industry and with a great game, and had a blast and got to kick a major ass, and looking forward to working on the next game.
Again, I don't really know what to add to that, but
well, I guess that kind of covers who's Lukenbacher and your SOCOM story.
Yeah, I guess it kind of does.
Yeah.
I'm just a fan like everybody else, man. I just so happened to spew a bunch of shit on podcasts that some people liked, some people didn't, and had a website that some people like and some people don't like, and most of the world doesn't even care about. So nobody significant. But I'm glad you're tuning in.
Oh yeah. Well, so am I. So, you should just subscribe. It is really interesting to hear about that kind of stuff, because I personally, while I've played SOCOM since 2003 or 4, when I was really young, and I probably shouldn't have been, I haven't really been tuned into the actual community or listening to content outside of the game that's about it until 2010, 2011. And most of this stuff obviously is secondhand information for me. And a good portion of what you just said, I didn't even know about. So, I mean, the more you know.
Yeah, awesome.
So, okay, what's the coolest event or like interaction you had like while you were doing the circuit, man? Like, tell us a really fucking cool story from like when you were at like PAX or something like that. Like, I'm all ears for that shit.
Oh God, man, that's so hard. Like, you have no idea how hard that is to answer, because I've had
The life was just that good.
You spoiled for choice.
Well, there were moments like the first RLCS Live Finals I ever did in Hollywood. I mean, was incredible, because at that point, not only did I know that I pulled it off, with the help of a great team. I don't want to make it sound like I was the only guy doing that stuff, but my work, was successful. But not only that, but that was also the moment where Rocket League really became an esport and recognized as a real legit esport. And I'm in downtown Hollywood. I've worked my ass off. I've built the Hollywood set. I've worked with the production company. I'm on a full-fledged, full-blown esports partnership with Twitch. I'm meeting with ESPN and meeting with Red Bull and some of the biggest names out there, on a daily basis. And it all culminated to that point. And I'm standing on stage with my entire team, and a crowd is on their feet standing up as we just crowned our first ever global champion. And then the season 2 is in fucking Amsterdam, of all places. And we have a smash show, huge hit, and broke over 1 million in viewership that weekend. And then I get to spend a week in Amsterdam off the clock to do whatever the hell I want to. And then my almost last night there, I get engaged with a girl that I had moved all the way to California with. So, and then getting to meet, the legends in the industry, like in the flesh. Like, where do I begin? Like, I got to meet the biggest names out there, and they're on my fucking Facebook, like pictures with them. Like, it was surreal. So the right answer is the trip I got engaged on, right? I mean, because that was a combination of work and personal life.
Yeah.
But I will say that first event, man, it was a sweet moment.
If you want a sound clip to send to your fiance, I mean, we can definitely sort that out. Oh yeah, that was my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, I may need that just to pull it up. But yeah, man. And then just getting to travel the world and go to all the events, all the PAXs, the E3s, and get to experience all that at the ground level. It was great, man. It was incredible. I mean, I was part of 350 machine lands running tournaments. I was part of the main feature at major esports stages, giving away 10, 20, 30 grand, behind the scenes planning DreamHack partnerships. And I mean, it was it was amazing, man. Like I don't think I could have asked for anything more.
I was gonna
And the
say
other
that's a
thing,
pretty long way of saying living the dream.
yeah, it was great, man. And then it's Cali living, so it's all laid back. Like you gotta understand, like before I got into the gaming industry, I've pretty much been an account executive for 12, 14 years, whether it was sales or whether it was advertising and marketing, or whether it was both, advertising, marketing, sales. And so I was wearing suits or at least dress shoes, slacks and press shirts and ties and stuff like that all the time. Uh, the last 2 years, man, I've worn like sneakers and jeans and t-shirts and caps and just been chilling at a gaming studio. Like pretty much like the only way I can explain it is like some of my fondest memories in SOCOM was working with the TRS staff, right? Like shooting the shit in Skype, planning crazy ideas to try to get SOCOM noticed or a way to get people excited about SOCOM, whether it was
Yeah.
making videos or just planning movements or strategies or trying to get Sony's attention, or there was an issue or something that needed to get addressed that needed more attention or needed to be massaged or packaged the right way or communicated the right way or whatever it was. Or what if there was a fucking indie dev out there that was struggling on the Kickstarter and needed a big surge and a big push, to hit that goal, and we all rallied and came together. Like all these different reasons. Like imagine that times 20 on the 25th floor of a downtown San Diego skyscraper, just backed by a CEO, that has investor support and those people know what they're doing and are talented and are smart, like a lot of the people in our SOCOM community. It's just a bigger version of that. It would almost be like if TRS grew into a corporation, and it's all the same, man. Like just because it was so different than like a rigid corporate structure. And the people there were amazing, smart and talented, and the CEO has a heart of gold and an incredible story about how he built that studio before Rocket League blew up. I was just truly humbled, man. I felt in sales and stuff, you always got to be real confident, almost cocky in a sense. And while I was there, I was just constantly humbled. I felt like I was lucky to be there and lucky to be a part of it. And then to be a part of such huge responsibility, an immense amount of responsibility and resources, and be able to work with a team and create something great. It's something I'll remember for the rest of my life, and I'm hoping the next adventure I go to can be just as amazing, or if not even better. But if it isn't, I got to live that dream as much as possible, man. And
Oh yeah,
I got really lucky.
good. No, that's good to hear, man. I always love to hear positive experiences in the industry and stuff like that. Just because I don't know, I'm still sort of toying with the idea of trying to get into it myself. If I can just go ahead and make this about me.
Mr. Blonde does have a YouTube channel
here. Yeah, yeah. You're gonna want to go ahead and subscribe to that, all of you. No, but that is very encouraging to hear that kind of stuff, because sometimes the sort of confirmation bias or the selective memory or the just how news spreads in the gaming industry, you only hear about like the bad things going on or some drama with some company or this game ended up disappointing people and stuff like that. But it's always good to hear about just stuff like that is a more positive experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Everybody up there is really great. They're real friendly, and it's like family. It's real laid back, but at the same time, don't let that fool you to think that it's a lazy company or anything.
Yeah,
like they kick major ass. So it's just a really cool environment, as opposed to what I've done in the past. Yeah,
they just turned it around. Like I've played Rocket League. Obviously, I don't know anybody that really hasn't anymore, but they turned it around. I think they had a game or two before this one with basically the same concept that went relatively under the radar. But this one, they saw the esports push, and by they I mean you. Everybody saw the esports push and just capitalized on it. And
they had the old game, the SARP, and I mean that launched on PSN, and it didn't move the needle, nearly as big as Rocket League, obviously, but there was a diehard fan base that really enjoyed it, and so that was their only first independent game. I mean, they worked alongside a lot of other studios, but Rocket League and SARP was like their baby, and then so they worked on it and polished it, and that's what became Rocket League. And in my opinion, just me personally, when I got there, I felt like the community itself was already turning Rocket League into an esport themselves. They had all kinds of community tournaments and websites and all kinds of stuff going on. So to kind of slide in and offer a pro league on top of that, and have so many dedicated, awesome fans and people already doing amazing stuff with grassroots efforts, it just turned into something amazing. So yeah. Anyways,
I don't want to turn
that.
this. Yeah,
I don't want to turn it into a Rocket League podcast, but yeah, it was a great experience, man. And yeah, I wish everybody up there the best of luck, man. And I'll miss them greatly.
I still do want to, just for a second, I don't want to bog it down or anything, but I do want to comment on the fact that Rocket League is just such a simple game in terms of like concept. Like you sort of get what the deal is immediately, and it's kind of obvious to anybody that's looking at it, even if they don't play the game. But there's such depth to the actual mechanics. It's got like such a high skill gap. You know, it's if I can just throw out a bunch of buzzwords there, it's just very reminiscent of older games rather than older games. So please excuse the voice crack. Very reminiscent of much older games that just they don't focus on adding in like a ton of game mechanics, just really refining the ones that they have.
Yeah, I was happy to see like split screen co-op, like couch co-op. Like you don't have to be online. Like you can literally just play 4-way split screen, like on a PS4. Like you
that's a relic in gaming now.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. Like, but it's perfect for the game. It's great. Yeah,
and it's a great couch game because you can enjoy watching somebody play it terribly, and you can enjoy watching somebody play it extremely well.
I will say, like as a SOCOM fan, probably the most amazing thing that I'm excited about was watching Psyonix be able to offer multi-platform on the same servers, and all the work they've been able to accomplish in that direction. I really think they're on the front lines with other studios out there of having a unified fan base one day of where it's not isolated islands on different platforms, where everybody comes to the same place eventually if the game is designed that way. And I love what they're doing there. And I hope there's a day where that happens. Just me personally speaking, I hope there's a day where it doesn't matter what system you're on or whatever. If it's a multi-platform game, then anybody can play that game together, to their preference or to their liking, whether it's a little box that they prefer to have with a specific controller, or whether it's a much bigger box where they can hook up any peripheral they want. Or maybe they're a handicap gamer, and maybe there's not a lot of peripherals on a console out there for them that aren't overly priced or customized. What if something like PC that offers a whole lot more customization in that area? There's just so many good reasons for it. But anyways, I don't want to keep talking about all this stuff. Let's get back on SOCOM.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, let's go back to what the people are here for. Yeah, let's get the show.
If you want to buy Rocket League,
you can get a Rocket League. I almost Freuded real hard there. You can get a Rocket League discount code from rocketleague.edu/cocksmoke. That is a 5% kickback to.
Of course, it'd be /cocksmoke.
That's also complete fabrication. I don't want to make it out like that's legitimate, but
well
yeah.
Done.
So yeah,
well
let's go
done.
back to SOCOM. Yeah. So what's we know your take on X-Link, or how it is now versus how it was a while back, but what's your take on the SOCOM situation in general? What with all these fan projects and with X-Link's growth and considering all of that, what position do you think it is in compared to when you were last fully tuned in?
Well, I've got a lot of mixed feelings about that. I mean, God, we've been through so much, right? I mean, just the drain of watching Zipper ultimately close down, that takes its own kind of toll on a fan base, especially one that refuses to give up and like walk away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we didn't let that dog lie. And then to also have independent efforts. I mean, HHOUR, everybody should be proud of that Kickstarter.
Yeah, really.
I think it's amazing how everybody came together and was able to raise that money and get that many supporters. And because it wasn't the best marketing, and it wasn't the. Everybody did what they could, right? Like everybody in the community, the fan base. I'd like to think at the studio did everything they could, and I've seen a lot of failed Kickstarters with a lot of ideas and efforts that I thought would be greenlit, as opposed to something so niche as SOCOM. And to see that game succeed, I think that's something that we should always be proud of, regardless of what happens with that game. I'm glad to hear that it's still being worked on. I'll be the first to admit, I saw like a 30-second clip of, I guess, some build of HHOUR within the last couple months. Looked a lot better. I know it's been a long time, and development's been going a lot slower as opposed to some other indie developers out there or whatever. But they're still making headway. They're still going in that direction. Whatever. I always wish any SOCOM effort the best of luck, whether I'm directly involved with it or whether I'm wrapped up in some other stuff and can't do much for it or whatever. I mean, it's fine. I just think that I think after all of that, and especially some drama like on TRS that I've kind of caught glimpses of, we've just gone so long without a game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have X-Link. I mean, that can satisfy some of the hardcore people, but only to a certain capacity. I think we've reached a point where even like websites aren't really creating and generating content. I mean, when's the last time you saw a SOCOM article or whatever?
Very true.
We're doing a SOCOM podcast now. I mean, but I can remember I used to run across new SOCOM videos from random people on YouTube. Well, don't get me started on how YouTube's declined. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, that's another 7 hours of
Oh God, yeah.
But my ultimate point is that I'm just seeing a lot less SOCOM content, which makes sense because there's no game. It's getting further.
All that stuff to talk about.
Yeah, from any kind of new developments or any reason to talk about it. And quite honestly, there really hasn't been anything significant from the community, recently either. I mean, there's not a whole lot that we can jump on, right? I mean, there's been a couple movements from PlayStation over the last years that have kind of had mixed results. Yeah, we've had some good numbers turn out, but there's also been some campaigns that were trolled pretty heavily and kind of put some different spins on some efforts and maybe rubbed some people the wrong way. And then, I mean, even TRS. I mean, now I know I've been gone for 2 years, but even before that, I wasn't even writing articles anymore. I didn't really know what to talk about anymore. Hell, that website was half broken, and no one was really there to even fix it. Like everything was just kind of deteriorating, and but I even contemplating shutting that place down or attempting to. Just my own personal opinion, like when I was going to leave, because it seemed like it wasn't that active, and things were just really, really toxic and really bad. Like everybody had kind of turned on themselves, but there was some staff there that did not like that idea at all, and so I handed everything over, and got really busy, and I've only had time to catch some glimpses every now and then. But even coming back and kind of reading a little bit, not much has really changed from what I remember. I just feel like everybody's so splintered on whether it's a project they're involved in or whether it's their viewpoints, or some people have just been posting alongside each other for so fucking long. They're just sick and tired of the same points and the same arguments, man. They're just done.
Oh,
right?
man, tell me about it.
There's not new blood and stuff like that, or some people just sit back and wait for certain people or certain topics to pop up before they engage it, and they have the wrong reasons behind it. I mean, there's nothing else to fucking prove, man, if you ask me. Like when it comes to this stuff, I mean, whether HHOUR succeeds or fails or what happened in the past, who cares? It's still being worked on. There are people out there that are passionate about it. There's some people that are playing it and some people that are developing it. I got no problem with that. I'm not going to shit on it. There's other efforts to do different things. Some of them are really ambitious and really kind of dance on trademarks and copyrights, and other efforts are completely homegrown. Other efforts are old faces that have disappointed us. Is probably the most polite way that I could possibly put it.
So that's the PC go about it.
Several times. Some people want to let bygones be bygones, and some people refuse to bury a hatchet. To me, I think this is probably the worst position I've seen the community in a while. We don't have the numbers, and everybody's kind of turning on themselves. Really, the next step is a big bulk is just going to quit giving a shit, and once people quit caring, it's kind of over. To me, to me, honestly, I don't know if I'll just say this as a co-founder of TRS. The reasons, me personally, that I wanted TRS created, and some of these ideas were shared by the co-founders. I don't want to act like that I have sole responsibility or anything. A lot of this was a very unified thing, but I don't want to speak for anybody. So I'm only going to frame this as my opinion. A lot of the reasons TRS was built, in my opinion, and all the content that was created there aren't really applicable anymore. We're not trying to get a change in a game or a patch or a feature. We're not trying to promote a podcast, from TRS, which is ironic because I'm on a podcast. But we're not trying to get Sony's attention or Zipper's attention that, hey, we won a game and this is the remaster that we want and what it looks like and stuff. Like, I just I feel like now it's just a bunch of old buddies and that's their hangout spot, right? Now it's kind of turning a little Jerry Springerish. To me, I think that the community needs to be innovative. I really like these new efforts and these new patches. Hell, like I said, I ordered a new free McBoot card. I'm going to try some of these new builds out. I'm really stoked and excited to see that. I think it's amazing. I think people need to branch out, man. There are SOCOM fans all over the place. And most of them don't give a fuck about TRS, and they're not even going to want to log into this website. They're probably not going to give a shit about your Twitter followers. They probably don't even give a shit about this Twitch broadcast, and that's fine. But go to where they're at. There are these huge social media platforms that have all kinds of people that you can just engage with. And a good thing is like these Facebook groups for SOCOM, boom. How many followers did that have? And not to discredit the work that was done there, but like how much effort did that really take? Like, did they really promote the shit out of that? Or was that just a really good untapped honeypot? You know what I mean? Like,
just like a right place, right time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, and with a little bit of backing and a little bit of push from the SOCOM community. At least the SOCOM community showed up and made it look legit. And then now the random SOCOM fans are flocking to it, and it's growing and snowballing. Like, do that on Reddit. Do that on Instagram. Do that on the next streaming platform. You find some struggling streaming platform that only has 50,000 people a day, right? But if there's only 12 people broadcasting, that's 20,000 views you may get at any given time for SOCOM. Like branch out. Like, be innovative. Like, the torch has got to be carried. Like, we can't expect everybody to come to our old school, forum cave and have long walls of text battles. I'm kind of tired of that as well. There's different ways to fight that fight.
It can get exhausting to read that shit sometimes.
Yeah, try being an admin and moderator for.
Oh, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
If I can play devil's advocate a little bit, I will say that there are certain, like you said, efforts like the patches and stuff like that have received a lot of support, especially from TRS. Like Harry, I think, has received a lot of feedback and a lot of support from people around there. But at the same time, I think it's even admitting that it is a mixed bag. And like you said, there's a lot of branching out that needs to be done just because of how kind of archaic the idea of a forum really is. That isn't your standard unified Reddit. I'm going to go here for this game and then here for this game, and it's all like a click away, rather than I'm going to go type in this URL for my SOCOM guys, and then I'm going to go to my Twisted Metal fucking Black forum. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and I do want to clear something up. I mean, I said that I don't think the original reasons why it was created are really relevant, but that's not to say that TRS is not currently relevant. Any ideas I ever had to shut down TRS, looking back, were wrong. I felt like the site was turning into a direction and heading a direction that was really bad, right? There's no content. It's just toxicity. Every now and then something cool pops up. But it's still viewed as the place to promote something SOCOM, but people are already hesitant to dip their foot in that pond, for whatever reasons. It almost seemed a little poisoned to me to a certain extent. But there's other staff at TRS, who thankfully wanted to keep it alive, and I'm glad they did. I think that it can still be a good springboard for the hardcore The people that there's a lot of people out there, man. Look, they're not going to sign up for Reddit, and they're not going to sign up for this new shit. I learned that some of these guys I've posted alongside don't even own a fucking cell phone. They're old school guys, right? Like, so I think that TRS still serves that function. It's still a way to communicate with the core, and it probably always will be till the day it dies, if it ever does. So I still think it definitely serves its purpose. I think unless it had a major fucking facelift, it'll never have the traffic or be what it once was. You know, I personally having access to the back end and working with the team and all that stuff, and it was pretty crazy how many numbers and traffic we were generating some years.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
mostly in
because,
guests and stuff like that.
and I'll be honest with you, like a lot of our staff, like I mean, we had full-time jobs, man. Like we couldn't invest 70 hours into the cutting edge
Yeah.
content for SOCOM. I mean, we put out some pretty decent work sometimes, I think.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, we just did the best we could when we had time. I mean, in hindsight, compared to the rest of the world and what the rest of the gaming industry is offering, it was just a shitty website with some shitty content on it. But we all loved it, right? Because we all knew each other and we understood what was going on. The traffic it was getting was amazing, and it was just resonating with a lot. It was resonating with something out there that was much bigger than us. Whether it was the remnants of SOCOM.com and PlayStation's user base, or whether it was something else, to this day I really don't know. The traffic came from all over the place. You could never really pinpoint it. It was just kind of like there was a little bit of SOCOM fans everywhere. That was like the only conclusion I could draw. I don't know, man. I don't think SOCOM's dead. I don't think it ever fucking will be. I don't think SOCOM will ever die. I think there will always be somebody out there that talks about it or tweets about it, whether it's one person or one lonely YouTube channel. Like, it'll happen. And I also think that it's an IP and a copyright that can't stay locked up forever, too. I think whether it has a major overhaul and is rebirthed, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know. Whether it's sold, or whether it's an ace in the hole for something that Sony or PlayStation has planned later, and they're just waiting for the right time, or they're waiting for the fan base to simmer down a little bit so they don't get raked out of the coals right out of the gate. I don't know what they're waiting for, but I do know this: in the peak of the SOCOM fandom, and I'm not talking about TRS. TRS was just a small finger on a much bigger hand. When we were in our peak, like we could influence millions of dollars. Like we, as a community, like we represented a lot of fucking money. I don't think we quite represent that anymore. I think there's a huge debate on just what we're worth at this point and how many of us still exist. But I don't think it'll ever die. But I do see glimpses of people carrying the torch in new ways. TRS wasn't that innovative. It kind of was in certain ways. There were people already doing podcasts. There were people already doing YouTube channels. There were people already streaming. There were people writing articles. There were people, who did forums. I just don't think anybody had ever put it and packaged it up in one place, and had a solid, devoted staff for so long to manage it and maintain it. So to me, I think the future is branching out. I think people need to squash their fucking beef. Like, I don't get it, man. Like we're dwindling down in like active vocal numbers, like pretty dim, and now it's just turning into a bunch of angry old men, bitching at each other. I think that people just need to swallow their pride. Like, who needs to win the fucking argument? Like, who cares? What needs to happen is that we need to find more SOCOM fans. Like that's where the mentality needs to be. And if you don't like TRS and you don't like the community there, then go create another one. And I don't say that sarcastically at all. I really mean that. Like, go create another one. Grow our numbers. Like, if you see a core or whatever that's heading in a direction you don't like, then go do something somewhere else great. Like, fix the problem. Like, do something about it, or just walk. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That's just the way I am. Because at the end of the day, this is a fucking video game. Like, people should not be getting all fucking worked up over this shit. I know I've been really passionate, and I've walked a fine line of getting, angry and sad sometimes about SOCOM, during its prime. But, now that I've gotten older and a little matured and got to see the other side of the fence, everybody needs to just calm the fuck down. Like, people need to remember, like, why we all started doing this in the first place. We wanted to sit down and play some video games with our fucking boys. That's where it all fucking started, man. And all that shit blew up. Take it back to its roots. Like, we all need to sit down with each other and play some fucking SOCOM again. And if we can't play SOCOM, then let's play something else together and talk about SOCOM or whatever. Like, just start playing games again, start having fucking fun. Like, we all forgot how to have fun. You know what I mean? When I was doing podcasts and YouTube videos, I spent a lot of fucking time doing that. And there were moments where it felt like work, when I had deadlines or I felt pressure that shit needed to get released or whatever. I think everybody on the team felt crunch time sometimes when we were really trying to do something big. But the majority of the time, dude, we were having fucking fun, man. I loved making those shitty, funny videos, dude. I loved editing the podcast and doing outtakes and listening to my friends and busting each other's balls on Skype behind the scenes. And
I love making shitty videos, man.
Oh yeah, shitty videos are my bread and butter. But that's sort of some of the stuff that I get the most nostalgic about when it comes to the SOCOM franchise. Is not even the gameplay sometimes. It's just remembering like shit on YouTube, like watching videos about people talking shit about Confrontation's latest patch, or just, I guess, sort of glimpses into people's mentalities at the time and stuff like that. It's interesting to look at and to entertain, but at the same time, I don't know if we need to hold those viewpoints anymore.
Yeah, and nobody has to lead like some big major charge or anything. Like, it doesn't mean that. Just, if you really care about SOCOM or you really, I don't know, just take SOCOM with you, right? Like, if you're hanging out with Facebook or whatever and you got some old buddies or old gamers, like, bring up SOCOM. I don't know, like, if you've organized LANs, create a fucking SOCOM LAN one day with X-Link. Watch what happens. Like, fucking do something. Like, I don't know.
Did you see recently, like, a dozen guys got together in Brazil and land SOCOM?
Yeah, I saw that.
I didn't see that. What was that?
I thought it was awesome.
That was on the SOCOM Facebook group.
Oh, nice. That reminds me of, if I can interject, that reminds me of, I think I told you about this, Tawok, but when I was in Halifax a year or two ago, a gaming cafe opened up just up the street from my campus. So I'd start going in there regularly just to get my fix and to play some PC games that I actually didn't really get to play very much of beforehand because of my aforementioned shitty computer. So I'd go in there, play on their sick Alienware computers or whatever. And I swear to God, I ran in there one day and I ran into 4 fucking guys playing HHOUR. 4
Yeah.
Like, I was looking at 25% of the population at the time. It was interesting, but I think they were all a clan playing. I actually think the tournament was going on at that point. One of the big tournaments they were doing with the spreadsheet.
The one with stars and shit like that?
Maybe. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're a streamer, do some SOCOM for charity or something one time. Or,
that's exactly what I just mentioned the other day, because a quick little aside, I'm doing a Final Fantasy charity event where you donate to me, and I send all of my donations to Child's Play, a charity that fucking gives video games to, like, hospitals and shit that have sick kids. And I told Blonde and Ski Mask, I'm like, we should fucking do something like that, where, like, the entire month of August, you stream SOCOM, you take donations, and you send it to X charity.
I mean, there's just so many things you can do. And the other thing is, people are like, oh, I don't stream, or I don't make videos, or I don't do that or whatever. But all you gotta do is just plug in, man. Like, if you really care about SOCOM, look around you and look at what content interests you. And support it, man. You guys would be surprised how much of a pat on the back or a like or a response or something, like, gives you inspiration, or a nice comment or something positive.
There's nothing more frustrating, especially as a content creator, than just shouting out into the ether and nothing.
Even 0 likes, 5 views.
I was happy. I made a shitty YouTube video like a couple months ago for Battlefield 1, and I ended up with like a 20 comment chain of me and just some other guy shooting the shit. And that was it. And he was the one dude out of the couple hundred that may have seen it. And that was pretty much enough for me, basically, because I'm not really looking to make a career out of it or anything yet. But it's encouraging.
Yeah.
To say the least.
And the same thing carries over to bigger things like indie efforts and projects or whatever. Like, I don't wish for anybody to fail. Like, I hope they all succeed. I guess the debate right now is who's going to promote it and who's not. Like, I don't understand why that's a problem. If you don't like a person that's behind the project, Like, I don't. I'm kind of in a gray area because I guess there's some people out there that feel like certain efforts or whatever, depending on who it comes from, don't deserve the promotion, or for whatever reasons don't have a right to really be there without, you know, having everybody remind them of the past and or whatever as like a disclaimer, or you know, buyer beware on something that's a free volunteer effort kind of thing.
Fucking rap sheets.
I I kind of understand that to a certain extent, and I've been kind of guilty of that because there was a time, and I'm not going to be too specific, but there was a time where there were issues, major issues that were not being talked about, and some of them couldn't be publicly discussed from a legal aspect, and it was not easy to deal with, and not everybody during that time knew what was going on. So it was a
Yeah.
real confusing, very, very confusing time and situation. But I think at this point, the way the community is at a certain state, I think we should. I'm not saying that we should just give a free reign and a free pass to anybody that's showing anything, you know, a screenshot or a little clip of something they're working on. But people need to think twice before they just start shitting on stuff. Because if we all keep shitting on it, all we're going to have left is shitters. There ain't going to be nobody else out there making anything or doing anything
You're
because nobody's
speaking
going
my
to care
exact
anymore.
language, man. I've always been saying that, like, we as SOCOM fans should support almost all SOCOM projects just because it has the fucking spirit and it carries the fucking torch forward. And, like, I can't personally be pissed at these people on the internet because my life is too fucking short for that.
Yeah. And you know, man, and there was a time when I first started making YouTube videos, and I can remember I started getting 5,000-10,000 views on videos, and I started thinking I was the shit, and I started watching other YouTube channels and stuff. And in my mind, as I'm watching some of the stuff, I critique it. I'd be like, oh, you know, they could have done a better job video editing, or man, I don't know about that opinion. Or wow, that's such a surface level overview of that. That was such a viewer grab. Like, why even make that fucking video? Like, and then I had to humble myself. And I was like, who the fuck are you, Luke? Like, why are you even having this internal dialogue with yourself? Why? Because your shitty ass edited videos are all of a sudden getting some traffic or whatever, and you think you're better than other people? Like, I mean, I'm human like anybody else. And and then so I reached a point where I was like, dude, I'm glad people are making fucking videos, no matter what it is. I don't care how shitty it is. I don't care how young it is. I don't care if it's a differing fucking opinion. It's got SOCOM in the title. It was well thought out. It wasn't a shit troll video. It was actual SOCOM content. And I think every voice and every opinion has its place in the community. And we should be real, real careful about choking the life out of certain things. Because there's going to come a point where we really don't have anything left, and we're literally going to have nothing, and we'll be 100% at the mercy of whenever someone decides to release another legit SOCOM. You know, and then I mean, at one point in time, we had indie devs interested in the SOCOM. I mean, even who cares if they were indie devs? Like, we had their attention, and there's been multiple projects where that's happened. Um, I mean, that's power, man. Like, where is that? You don't get that kind of power from the best debate on TRS. You know, you don't get that power by being constantly the hall monitor to remind people that, hey, you know, this guy's fucked us over. You know, don't listen to anything he says, or don't promote it, or don't get involved. Just sit back. Like, just sit the fuck back. If it gets too big or whatever, that's a staff. That's an admin website decision. You know, let the people who are in charge of that website decide where to draw lines if it needs to come to that. And so far, we haven't drawn a whole lot of, or I shouldn't say we because I'm not currently a staff member, I don't think technically, but not a whole lot of lines have been drawn in that sand before. There's been a pretty free reign. Like, the community, even in the game and even on the forums, we kind of police ourselves, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're cautious, then sit back and wait until something wrong happens, or wait until things get taken too far, or I don't know, or maybe TRS has turned into something where like 50 people think they own it. Like, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Part of me wanted to just flip the switch off, even for a week, just to remind people that this is just a fucking video game. This is just a random forum that we're all trying to like meet more people like ourselves, get together and hang out to have fun, and maybe hopefully get another SOCOM. Like, everybody needs to
Yeah.
take a deep breath and relax. And these 8-year long forum grudges turning into detrimental type of things
To be-
is just not good.
Again, just to sort of balance it out or try to offer, I guess, a different perspective on it.
Ooh.
I do want to, I guess, again, play devil's advocate and say that I think a lot of that stuff isn't necessarily born out of an inherent desire to just shit on things, although sometimes I do think that is the case, or at least the ends, so the means don't matter. I think a lot of it, especially when they're trying to bring up people's rap sheets or make sure that we're aware of what people have done in the past, is because they're worried that that sort of criminal record is indicative of their want for personal gain, or they're just worried that that might have a negative effect on whatever project's going on or something like that. You know what I mean? Rather than just trying to be the contrarian. Although, again, like I said, I think it's also the case sometimes.
You know, it's going to be real hard for me to make this point without everybody knowing who I'm talking about. But, you know, would it have been better for a person to not have made the effort and taken us on this roller coaster ride? Would it really have been better for it to never exist? I know in some cases that answer may be yes. And I think in some cases the answer may be no. I think there's good and bad attached to all of these efforts. I think like in some ways the HHOUR Kickstarter, you know, showed a lot of great things, right? Everything was working really good.
Definitely showed our community capacity to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also there's community devs right now that are doing some really cool stuff. Would they have ever stepped up into a role like that? You know, if it wasn't for that whole effort and stuff. Like, so now there are people that know some programming and coding in SOCOM that are sharpening their claws on a SOCOM-like game. Would it have been better if that had never, ever existed? I don't know. I think the answer is yes and no, because some people could be like, well, that could have really hurt, you know, just general investors or even Sony wondering if, you know, new SOCOM is to get greenlit after everything that's happened, like seeing how a gaming project can take a turn for the worse in some cases. I don't have that answer. I think that's up for debate and a matter of opinion. There's another very, very talented person out there that has done probably some of the most incredible work, I think, out of anybody ever in the SOCOM community, who's extremely talented. And I think there's a lot of warnings that people like to post about that particular person. I'm not convinced that it would be better if that person never had existed or never. I shouldn't say that because that sounds like it's on a personal level. I meant like had never, you know, done these efforts or these projects, even if they had a turn for the worse, or even if some information was deleted and wiped off a website as a result, or as some, you know, collateral damage or whatever. I think that answer can be yes or no. Regardless, it's given something for the community to get involved with. There's people out there who are testing this stuff or have gotten involved in this stuff and have had a great experience. And I'm not 100% convinced that waving all this history in front of them as just sheer warning is always good. Now, at the same time, history repeats itself if you do not educate thyself. And you don't want that to keep happening too. So there's an argument on the flip side of the coin that says this is a pattern and it's going to happen again, and we shouldn't even go down this road. I don't have it. It's a very complicated situation. What I think that people need to do is sit back and get involved with what you're interested in and what you support, and just think twice before you shit on something. There's some people out there that are just going to be like, look, I don't give a fuck what you say, Luke. I don't care. The fact that Luke's saying it or whoever tells me what, I don't care if you ban my privileges on a forum or whatever. I'm going to tell the world about this person or this project or whatever. That's fine, man. Like, people are going to make up their own mind, and they're just going to do what they want to do. And in some cases, it's unfortunate that, you know, that we have some toxicity in our community. And it's a result of all this carnage, man. Like, that's one thing that Rocket League taught me. It was a fresh game with a fresh community. And they're just so positive about everything and so supportive.
Still in the honeymoon period.
Yeah, and it just reminded me of the glory days of SOCOM. But it did teach me about the simplicity again. And that's what I keep hammering, is that everybody needs to remember why we all got wrapped and sucked into this whole SOCOM drama to begin with. We just all need to hang out and have fun again. And if you're not having fun, then hang out with someone else or don't hang out here anymore. Like, quit taking this shit so seriously. This is not life or death. There's a lot of games out there that offer a partial SOCOM experience with the right mods and the right group of people. You can fucking have a blast, man. Like, you just got to find it or invest your time or a little bit of resources into it. Like, find what makes you happy and find other people that enjoy it too, and fucking bro up, man. Like, it's not that hard. Like, I don't understand why we keep splitting ourselves anymore. And even when we get dwindled down, and we just keep biting ourselves and biting our own tail. And I have been guilty of a lot of these things in the past. Like, I don't want to sit here on some soap opera box and be self-righteous or any kind of that bullshit, man. I have just seen the other side of the fence. I know what this kind of behavior looks like and is interpreted on the other side, and it's not good. It's not good at all. If anybody's even reading it at this point, which was even an even more dire situation.
And that's a point that I've tried to make before. I don't know if I conveyed it properly or if I really had all the evidence to support that position. But I think a lot of the times, even just the impression people get about the website rather than the actual content of the website itself is just as important in terms of getting people to come here, or failing that, at least get involved in the SOCOM community elsewhere. Is if they get their first feet wet in TRS or in any other community, and it's just not the kind of experience that they're looking for, they might get the wrong impression about the rest of what the SOCOM fans have to offer or anything like that.
Well, the other thing too is that something that doesn't quite sit right with me, and it may kind of shock you or whatever, but I don't understand why TRS is so important in this whole grand scheme of things. Like, we were a group of guys that created this website, and we had some really good traffic at one point, had some good content, but we're not like the last hope, the only key or the only answer to, the future of SOCOM. Like, I just, that's what I mean by branching out. Like, if TRS is deteriorated, or whether it comes back, or whether it just stays as it is, I have no idea. I don't know what kind of time I have here to invest before I'm not allowed to work on anything like this. I just know that the community needs to stay alive and it needs to grow, and there's plenty of other ways to do that. And I think that people need to think a little bit more on the positive side about stuff. And I don't mean be nice to each other and all that stuff. Like, just don't hang out with those guys anymore. Like, where's your happiness? Where's your happiness? If you can't find happiness in SOCOM right now, then you shouldn't be here. That game is long gone dead, and it's barely hanging on. And there's some efforts here and there, but it's nothing to invest your whole SOCOM hopes and dreams in. Like, people need to get over the fact that studios shut down. The publisher didn't care about it for a while or whatever, or has it iced for very strategic reasons, whatever the case may be. This is just the current state. There's not much of us left. Like, everybody just needs to relax and chill out. Like, I just don't get the drama at this point. Now, when there's a new game being launched and there's 100,000 people on a forum, and the dev is making quick decisions on features that are going to be in the game forever, and the time is now, like, that's a whole other ball game, man. Like, that's a whole other ball game. We're not there. Like, that ship sailed a long time ago. Like, we're in a whole other place right now. We're on our own little deserted island, like, cannibalizing the shit out of ourselves, and claiming that this island is the only thing we have. Like, I don't buy that. I don't believe in that.
Jeez, I don't know what else to cover, to be honest.
I do think we should take some questions from the chat at this point, because we are clocking about an hour and 10 minutes now.
Nice. That went by quick.
Yeah, it did. Like you said, Luke, you can talk, man.
I told you not to worry about filling an hour. It wouldn't.
No, I wasn't worried about it, man.
I was starting to filibuster. Oh, got him. Oh, I got
zing.
Anyways, no, I think I'm in general agreement with most of that kind of most of the stuff that you said. I don't want to place more importance on TRS or on any one fan project or anything like that that's going on right now than there actually needs to be. But I do think it would be significant for the future of the site, if nothing else, that we definitely obviously get our shit together and also try and, like you said, jump on the growth and make sure that the I just lost my train of thought there for a second. Hold on.
Good Lord, boyo.
No, it happens.
Sorry, it's 2 a.m. for Christ's sakes. It's 2 a.m. Don't give me no guff. But no, I don't know. I try to keep in the middle on things as much as I can, just because I hate confrontation almost as much as I hate confrontation the game.
Oh,
And B, I just feel like I've always tried to be the middleman or tried to entertain both sides whenever I can. But
I have too, man.
You sort of have to.
I've played that role for a long time. Tonight I'm being very opinionated because right now I'm not in any kind of leadership role. I'm not in charge of a website anymore or anything like that. I'm just speaking as a SOCOM fan right now with some unique experience that maybe some people have and some people don't have out there that stumble across this. I also want people to remember something, that there was a time where SOCOM.com was the place. Like all power, all influence, all importance, that was the place. And who would have thunk that, some little group of posters would have created a website and branched away from that, in defiance of over moderation where people could speak freely, and that it would actually turn into something. And now the same viewpoint is being viewed on TRS just to some degree. I'm not going to say it's in the same boat or the same story, because it's not. It's a completely different situation, completely different thing. But it is being viewed as some kind of cornerstone, and there is a lot of controversy attached to it for right now from all kinds of walks. I don't want to see all the hope of people out there thinking that it's attached to TRS. And I think there's a lot of people out there who think otherwise, and they are doing their own thing, and I honestly applaud them. Even if they're trying to directly compete with something I helped create, I don't care. That's just more ambition and more effort going towards SOCOM. I have seen many of SOCOM sites built that I've seen beautiful websites built that never got more than 50 members before. And I've seen shitty websites that went on to be TRS. It's just the way it is, man. I just don't want to see SOCOM die, and I think everybody needs to lighten the fuck up. I also don't think TRS is necessarily dead either. I think with the right group and a little bit of polish, that that thing could really update and become innovative as well. I just want to stay in the gaming industry, and if I'm working for a studio, I can't work on this shit. I'm legally contracted not to, or I would, man. I've learned a lot, and I think I would be really dangerous for the SOCOM community now in a good way. And I will do everything I can in the time that I have. But granted, I could be moving and could be starting a new career, and I'm going to be really busy. But I'm going to do everything I can, and this is a first step toward that. I didn't just come in and come back to TRS and just start making all these posts and all this stuff. I quietly behind the scenes let everybody know that I was coming back. I silently just kind of logged in to Xlink and started playing with people. And I wasn't making Lukenbacher runes and TRS runes. I jumped on Discord and started just kind of hanging out with everybody just to see where everybody's at. And what time I have left, I'm going to do what I can. I think there's potential here. There's a lot of talent scattered out across all walks. I think we just got some old cats that need to let go of some old blood. And I also think there's some projects out there, like if you have said everything that needs to be said, let it go. Just let it go. If it really is what you say it is, then you don't need to say anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If something's dead, it's dead. You don't need to convince people of that. If you're constantly convincing people that something's dead, then maybe it's not dead. It may be almost dead, but maybe it's really not quite dead. Maybe it's holding on to some life too, or whatever. Just sit back and let people do what makes them happy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Well, we don't all have to be Baptist, and we don't all have to be Jewish. Like, we can all live in harmony without killing each other.
I think we should all be Jewish.
Hey.
No, it's
whatever floats your boat.
No, but I guess should we grab some questions in, or?
I put out a few requests for questions. Chat out there, if you guys have any questions for Luke, you got questions for me, you want to ask Luke how his vegetable garden's going, what gay nightclub he visited last night, now is your chance.
Nice.
No questions for me?
Uh...
Well, I guess you said Luke, so maybe that's. Are you going for the double, or what are you doing?
How about everybody? I mean, you can ask any of us questions. Fuck it.
Because I'd like to talk about my gay nightclub experience, but
ooh,
I don't know. That's a little bit of a
talk
Jerry
about it,
Springer
Thaler.
TV segment. All right, so I was at this place. It's called Boys with a Z. No,
ooh, with a Z?
I'm running out of material for this joke, so I'm just gonna let it go. And I really don't want to paint the wrong picture. But anyways, hopefully we can get some get some questions from the peanut gallery, and we can ask that we can throw some water on the burning desires of the people in the SOCOM community. Like, I mean, I know I want to know about the vegetable garden. I don't know anybody who doesn't.
All right, so we got a question from Big Fry. What's next for Luke now that Psionics is a closed chapter?
So that's a really good question. I can't be really specific, but I have been looking for quite some time, and I have had some healthy conversations with some companies out there, and I'm looking to stay into the gaming industry, and that's about all I can say. If anything happens, it'll happen within the next 2-3 months. If not, then we'll see. I'm pretty sure after what's happened recently, though, that we'll be staying in gaming. It's just a matter of where. So I'll just leave it at that. Where and when.
All right.
That's about all I can say. Like I really can't talk about behind the scenes discussions or whatever.
That's understandable. If you could, like your personal where you'd want to work at this time or in the future, or
I'm not going to name any specific companies, but I'll say that I would love to stay in events and esports. That's something I'm really passionate about and really enjoy. So I'm definitely exploring that. I'm also kind of have some unique experience now outside of esports and just advertising, marketing in the gaming space as well. So there's a lot of different angles and approaches I could take, and it's something that I have been spending a lot of time, and I'm going to continue spending a lot of time thinking about what my next move will really be. And in some cases, it may be a really hard choice. So, and that's not a decision that I make by myself anymore. I'm not a single gamer on my couch anymore, cramming as many hours of SOCOM as I can in a day. I'm happily engaged now, and I've got somebody else to consider when it comes to this stuff too. So it's something that's I'm not a little kid anymore, man. I'm a grown ass man, and I got some grown ass man decisions to make. So I can't wait to see what happens, just as much as anybody else out there.
Fair enough.
Tyzilla asks, when can he expect the nudes?
That if I leave gaming, I'll send some nudes. It'll be a really raunchy new SOCOM promotional. I'll do some sexy seals posing.
I want to know. Did you watch? I'm assuming you kept up with E3 this year, at least a little bit. What did you think of the whole? What did you think of the whole Bravo team thing? Yeah, so I'm assuming that you were paying attention while you were at E3, is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, E3 is humongous. I mean, there's so much going on at E3.
Sensory overload, almost.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I caught just a few glimpses of it. What is the thing that's exciting SOCOM fans the most about it?
I think people got their hopes up, as we are wont to do, just because of like you said, we've been in a bit of a drought, and by a bit of a drought, I mean quite a few years with no official SOCOM experience. So we saw a Bravo team come up. This new, I think, if I got my deets correct, like the trademark was licensed like a couple days before E3. So it just sort of came out of left field. We're thinking Fire Team Bravo or something like that. We sort of put things together in our head that maybe we shouldn't have, and we see it, and it's a VR shooter that looks kind of I don't know. It could be all right. It looks about on point. It looks kind of like Farpoint in a modern setting rather than Future Town, and it just sort of looks like a run-of-the-mill kind of shooter, but with the VR thing, maybe it could be worth a couple bucks. I'd have to see more gameplay of it to give like a real verdict on that, but
yeah,
I think everybody's got a negative kind of tilt on it just because we, at least, and I say we, speaking mainly for myself and a couple other people,
You know, there's two types of games when it comes to like peripheral based games, right? Like there's games that are standalone games the traditional way, and they offer a unique peripheral experience, like VR or PlayStation Move or something like that, right? And then you have games that are completely designed around a very, very specific peripheral, and that's all it's designed to do. From what I've seen, that looks like a very specialty game. Like it's a game designed to showcase the tech and showcase that peripheral. But at the same time, SOCOM has always been, for whatever reasons, been branded as the IP to push out some kind of new peripheral or new product.
Yeah. Like they were the front runner for.
Yeah, I can definitely see the connection, right? Like, don't use the word SOCOM, because if we do a SOCOM VR, our PR campaign is going to get shot to hell by rabid SOCOM fans who are pissed off, right? Maybe we kind of, not do that. So I think this is probably just something that just happened to use a name. I mean, you gotta understand, SOCOM has a diverse dictionary of terms, I guess, that come from all kinds of armed forces and stuff like that. So you're going to see some phrases that or maybe resonate with us that we think are nostalgic to SOCOM. They're kind of probably universal words like fire, the word team, and even Bravo.
Even the word SOCOM, somebody could be talking about any manner of rifle or pistol or whatever the fuck, and not or just the actual.
At the same time, though, if I had to use SOCOM to push out a new peripheral, and I wanted to avoid the PR nightmare of calling it a SOCOM, when the whole fan base just wants a legit game, not some VR showpiece, then rebranding it would make sense. I've made the argument that I've wondered if Sony should rebrand SOCOM and repackage it under a new name and a new title. So it doesn't have all that baggage attached to it. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, it's always been the peripheral game with like the headset for the voice commands or the fucking or the sharpshooter, or some have been more well received than others. You can definitely observe, but I think people are very hesitant about even subscribing to the idea of a SOCOM VR game, just because it just sounds weird. Like a VR, it'd have to be first person. So that's a big part of the character gone immediately.
Well, like for me, like if they announced a SOCOM VR, I just wouldn't get it because I don't like playing VR games necessarily.
Yeah, I haven't played enough of them, or in fact any of them, to get a feel for if I like VR games or if I can even play them. Maybe I'm one of those guys that gets intense motion sickness when they're on. I don't even know.
I would hate to see a VR only SOCOM get launched, but I just from a business perspective, it's a good way to shoehorn in SOCOM without having to greenlight a mega amount of budget. You know what I mean? Like you're already getting a budget to do some kind of software to showcase VR's technology anyways. It really doesn't almost matter the game. Like you probably have several different options that you could do. That would be an easy way to slide in SOCOM, but it wouldn't satisfy us, right? Like it would just piss us off. We'd feel like the SOCOM brand's getting exploited to push a peripheral and push sales instead of giving us the experience that we've always wanted,
Skittle D's nuts ass, if we do get a SOCOM back, how do we get it? PS Now, a remaster, a sequel? I mean, that's really fucking anybody's call, man. We're really just fucking pulling shit out of our ass for that.
Yeah.
It could very well be HHOUR getting on PS4 and finding that untapped market that's waiting for a third-person shooter.
We'll see. I mean, I've had mixed opinions on whether HHOUR has any chance of making it to PS4. Just the fact that it won't die leads me to believe that it's still possible, but I don't know. But I mean,
so on that note, I just want to point something out, that any game that gets put on the PSN has to go through rigorous testing and has to pass a completely separate QA process to be greenlit, for that. And that includes any and every patch. And anything that is submitted there has to be wholly, completely owned, complete copyright by the person who
I think I know where you're going.
So any additions or additives, like what Steam would offer a game, that could potentially be the real potential for the game to begin with may be a real big roadblock.
Might not be even permissible.
Yeah, something like a workshop or something like that on Steam that doesn't exist on a console. So how do you sell that game? Anyways,
I mean, there's. I again almost forgot what I was talking about. I will say that I've played some games on PSN that just, you mentioned a separate QA process, and I feel like I don't know if they were just missed or what, but I bought like Verdun on PS4 and it runs like shit. It's not half as good as the PC version. Give it a miss. But there's also games like Payday 2 that release on consoles, and they're mainly PC developers. Valve did the same thing with the Orange Box and Counter-Strike and stuff like that. And they release it on consoles, but their update schedule is way different.
They set it and they forget it.
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to go play the Orange Box on PS3, you're essentially playing TF2 before hats came out and shit. Like, it is a blast from the past.
It's almost like its own little nostalgic trinket.
There's just some challenges there. I don't know, but like I said, the last clip I saw of HHOUR has greatly improved, but I hadn't seen it in 2 years, so it was quite a leap. So, but
to answer, I don't know if he was going for that. To answer Scale's question, I think whether it be a remaster or I used to think a remaster would be the most probable new SOCOM, well, quote unquote new. I guess it'd be a remaster, so maybe not, but the freshest SOCOM content would probably be a remaster. But at this point, I don't know if they lean towards something like a tech shill or just here's brand new take on it.
Here's the problem. The problem that we have is that a remaster would be great, right? It really would be great. And we see all these games getting remastered and all this stuff. But some things to consider, just some points I'm going to throw out, and you can calculate your own opinion on it. But most of those studios are still open and operating. They have all the original assets that ever existed, not just the disc, but all the original assets. And a lot of times they can go in and just really do some cleaning house on some coding. They can update some textures and some art and stuff like that. They can optimize some things and clean it up. And then some people really dive into a remaster and really like by hand rebuild everything. In SOCOM's case, we're missing some of the pieces to those puzzles, from what I understand, on all of the original assets. We just don't. Whether the studio's closed, whether some of it was lost, I don't know the story. I just think somewhere, I think somebody from Zipper was quoted in regards to remaster. Maybe in Dunham or Roper back in the day on SOCOM.com. Somebody correct me out there who remembers. But that some of those original files and source codes or whatever were just not there anymore. And reverse engineering from the disk itself wasn't necessarily, is good. And I'm not a technical programmer. That's not what I do in gaming. So a lot of this stuff is well beyond my technical prowess. But that's just from what I understand in layman's terms, how it's explained. So for us, the SOCOM fans, a remaster, you'd have to build the game from scratch. Like, in order for Sony to greenlight that, they'd have to find a really passionate developer about the game who's really passionate about not trying to climb some mountain of glory by using the SOCOM name and putting their own footprint on it, but a dev who was all about the integrity of what SOCOM was and really just bringing that to modern standards, intact almost, with maybe a few changes, and then that's even a can of worms.
Some quality of life upgrades and stuff like that.
I would still pay for Pius to wear a Christmas sweater.
My problem is that I think a remaster would almost cost as much as a full-blown game. The only exception would be the marketing budget. I think a remaster wouldn't be heavily promoted as a whole new sequel or a new IP. I think a new IP would be put through the entire gaming industry gauntlet, and showcase the way any exclusive from PlayStation is promoted. But a remaster is something that would go a little more under the radar, right? As most remasters are. Usually remasters, they're still pushed and promoted by PlayStation, but that's also a big effort by the devs themselves, because it's still their game and they're still open and operating. So that's just something to think about. So when you think about it from a business perspective, I really think that they're not going to spend 75% of the budget on a remaster. But on the to play devil's advocate, I thought I did a big analysis of remasters. I don't know if y'all remember that. I did a chart and did like a week worth of research.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was really unpredictable. Like remakes were really unpredictable, and the conclusion I had drawn is it was so unstable. I didn't know if remasters was a fad, if they would keep doing that, or if they would just dwindle to little speckled things, or if it would blow up into this big craze and everything would get remastered. And it was kind of in the middle of the road, right? Like we're still seeing remasters pop up. I mean, they're not like popping up like popcorn, but they're also like not non-existent. So there's still a movement for remasters. But in SOCOM's case, my heart and my gut tells me that they would have, after they really analyzed what it would take to do a remaster, the sheer budget required for it, they might as well spend another 20-25%, excluding marketing and advertising, of course, and just greenlight a full-fledged IP. And in that case, it would probably have to be a sequel, or they would even do a prequel. Even I wonder if that could be a thing. Like, go do what Battlefield did. Like, go back like when the first like 5 years of the Navy SEALs being formed.
Oh, that'd be
like,
so cool.
Like the early missions and the early teams. Like, you could do a throwback like that, and that
the
could
main
explain.
character voiced by Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need like all these modern guns with crazy, all this crazy bells and whistles that they put in modern gaming, and blood splatter and electronics and holograms and drones. Like, you don't have to do any of that bullshit, right? Don't fuck SOCOM up. Like, take it back. Like the strafe wars and the gun battles, it's because of the old guns. Like, you could totally shoehorn that into a modern game, and all the old arcadey gameplay. It'll never be realistic. It's an arcadey, but you could justify it with the older weapons and the older tech. And you could even, and nobody's skewering me out there, but after you get the 8v8 close quarters combat, you could throw in some old school tank or a jeep and maybe expand 1 or 2 or 3 maps.
Whoa.
Maybe.
All right, now.
Whoa.
You gotta have the 8v8 close quarters combat as your staple first.
That's the basis.
You can't build big maps and then just fence off that shit and think it'll work.
Yeah. Speaking of 8v8, and I don't want to get you off this tangent, because I actually do kind of like that idea of a sort of 60s, 70s SEALs game. But what is your thoughts on the upcoming, well, actually the beta is going on right now, but the America's Army game for PS4? If you've heard of it.
Not really. I'm out of the loop on it, man. Catch me up to speed, or send me over a link to a trailer, and I'll watch it while you guys jabber.
I will send you the link to actually some gameplay footage that I found on TRS, courtesy of.
Can we play it on the stream right now for everybody, and let everybody be involved? Or are we not allowed to do that? Can you show a trailer?
That would copyright me.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
If Big Fry's still in the chat, he could correct me on that, but I'm not sure I can go there.
Because it's currently
even if we're giving a review or commentary. I thought if we were giving a review or comment.
Maybe the fact that it was on YouTube leads me to believe that it.
Yeah. If we're doing like a review or commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I don't know if I have a trailer or anything. I just have gameplay footage that somebody put up on YouTube on TRS.
Oh yeah. No, you can. Oh. What does that mean?
No, you can.
Fry's saying I can stream it.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, throw it up real quick, man. Let me catch up to the stream real quick, because I've had it pause this whole time.
But I'm only.
All right, let's watch Precision's tactical beasting.
Oh yeah, bud. I'm gonna be on a bit of delay for a second until I can try and sync my shit up.
Okay. I'm going to. Okay, yeah. I was going to go on mute so that the audio didn't come through, but I got a headset. You can hear me anyway, so.
But yeah, there's been a couple of games like this that have been popping up. That
all right, I don't have a window capture, so bear with me, Twitch.
Oh yeah, but yeah, there are a couple of games that pop up with 1 or 2 characteristics of SOCOM that reminds people of it, like that game Drawn to Death. I know somebody mentioned some really weird like anime third-person shooter that had gunfights that kind of resembled SOCOM,
nice.
Which I'm totally all about.
Nice.
But no, yeah, it's just nice to see.
All right, I got tactical beasting.
Some of that
Where the hell am I gonna put
DNA
it?
still out there.
All right, yeah, that's good. That way everybody can see it.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, Precision. We're not going to watch a 32-minute video. 34-minute, goddamn.
No, not the full thing.
No, so I also got to remember too that once you click play on the video, I'm watching from the stream, so
Same
there's probably
here.
going to be a 30-second delay over the live feed.
I don't know about 30-second. I think
Okay.
last I checked, it was like 15 or something, which is still significant, but
Oh, this looks like an early Modern Warfare
It's
almost.
kind of like Insurgency almost. With a painted gun.
oh yeah. Or they've got sick camos. They better.
Oh, Beasted.
He's got his beast stung.
Do we have OBJ? I think we do.
I'm really waiting to see like the full-fledged movement and character strafing and all that stuff. The gameplay's looking very Counter-Strike-ish right now, though.
Yeah, almost like a little Rainbow Six.
Yeah, very methodical and kind of slow-paced. Definitely not run and gun-ish.
See some gameplay,
least-
Pre. Damn. Okay, what happened here?
He could just be playing like a coward too. You never know.
Well, I'm just saying with the sheer speed of the characters from what I'm seeing, it wouldn't allow you to have a twitchy arcadey kind of experience.
That's true. I think he was more referring to like the 8v8 and the structure of the game modes and stuff like that.
But I'm real curious about the pace of the gameplay. Like, how fast is your turn speed? How fast are the gunfights? And the time before you spot somebody and actually lock on to them and shoot them, like, what's that reaction time look like? Are we talking about 0.2 of a second? Are we talking about a second and a half for your character to like spin around and actually aim and shoot? Like the animation sequence, like everything about it, character movement, all that stuff panders into
Right side OBJ top.
the pacing of the gunfights, the pacing of the strategy when you're, doing strategic positioning on maps, like all that stuff. All that stuff takes into account on sheer gameplay alone and the sheer mechanic limitations and speed limitations. So
I think I'd be more receptive of a slower game based on the fact that I've been playing, Siege and stuff like that.
No health.
I feel like I'm watching a deathmatch-focused game of Siege.
Yeah, a little more freeform, less attack, defend. This is what you're doing right
looks
now.
a little stuck.
So
You might have a bit.
now remind me again why SOCOM fans are excited about this. This is coming on console, is that why?
It's on PS4, or it's going to be on
PS4.
PS4. It's going to be free to play, obviously, because it's
Disappointed in
the
you,
America's
Tim.
Army kind of game. And like I said, I think it's more focused on just the fact that it's 8v8. I think there's going to be no respawn modes and stuff like that. Excuse me, some feedback here, but
Fry says it plays like a mix of Insurgency and Rainbow Six.
Okay.
yeah. Well,
How
Big Fry, have you
How in
played
depth
it?
is it? Like, do you do a lot of like customizations on like the gun attachments? And
I've heard
all
you
that
can
kind of
get
stuff?
new optics and some customizations like that. I don't know about like I think you can unlock new weapons, but
I mean, is it like Counter-Strike model, or is it kind of like Battlefield, or like?
I don't know. I signed up for the beta actually just so that I could give it a shot at some point, but for the time being, I've got no clue. I'm also wondering, am I allowed to play it being Canadian? I'm wondering if they're going to even let me in there.
Hey, it ain't Canadians Army.
Oh, here Big Fry is saying that it's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, it's got a server browser. I didn't know about that. Now that's got me a little bit intrigued. That's
well,
one thing. That's one. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think I interrupted you actually, man. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that's one trend that I was sad to see go for a while was the server browser, and the Battlefield games sort of brought that back to consoles, but it was just I don't know.
watch
There
that
was
window
no
straight
server
up, Buzz.
browsing. It was all matchmaking for a while,
Top right.
and to a point, it still is the main way of getting into games, but there's less. There's private matches,
Don't
but
have a name.
they're private, so.
Buzz, you fucking
Well, I'm not
flashbang
a
me.
big fan of the sprint button and all that stuff, but this looks
It's
pretty
alright,
good.
Buzz,
Like
I
Big Fry
forgive
also
you.
said,
I
there's
forgive you.
there's only 4 guns, but it sounds like there's like an M4, sniper, shotguns. It's basic. So there's like I like the fact. Here's 2 reasons why I like this. One is that there's designated roles in the weapons, right? They simplified it down to the role
Yeah.
of each weapon, and they'll probably expand on it later, right? But for now, they got those basics down, so that lets me know that the devs themselves are like, you should have snipers, you should have close quarter shotgunners,
Oh,
you should
I
have
had to
medium
kill you. I'm
range
so
rushers,
sorry.
flankers
You're my
with
friend.
assault rifles, that kind of thing. And the fact that it's 8v8, that lets me know that they
Hey, what
built
happened
their
to you last
maps centered around that amount of people and those
You
kind of
lagged out,
choke points
right?
and that kind of map flow, which is a really good thing for us SOCOM fans. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting. It's of course it's got that FPS
Let's go, team.
generic
Come on, Drift. We got
catch-all that
this.
everybody's been doing,
Boom! Challenge completed. Boom! Shit like that.
or just the animations and the big in-your-face spectacles and all
Six
that.
Found a
sprint
pretty dope
animations
window
and stuff.
to fuck with.
Yeah, I really wish that devs would just offer a third-person view if you want it. Like, but I guess that's
Yeah.
that.
That's one
I
thing I
don't
really
worry
do
about
wall
appreciate.
banging and corner
Yeah.
camping and all that stuff. So
And seeing around. Oh, I need you to stop screwing around and check that wall for me, Sir Smokes. You know, stuff like that. But that's one thing I do appreciate about the new battle royale kind of trend is like your H1Z1s and your battlegrounds and stuff like that. They all
I'm
have
trying to get you,
third-person
bro.
cameras, and not only that, it's not just a third-person camera. It's often
I
you're
just missed
centered
every
behind
shot.
the back shit that we're used to, rather than like an over-the-shoulder you're roadie running around taking cover kind of thing.
I'm still, I hate admitting this, but I don't feel 100% on a keyboard when it comes to shooters still.
Oh yeah.
Somebody sneezing on
For a
me, guys.
multitude of reasons, and it has a lot to do with diagonal movement and muscle memory in my hands. And I'm so used to character movement with the left joystick and just having a full 360
And
range.
like the gradual.
And also in SOCOM, I very rarely actually aim left or
Patch
right
me up,
when
how
it comes
about
to the
that?
right joystick. I usually use that for the up and down pitch of my crosshair. I usually
And then just
rely-
adjust with the strafe.
Yeah, I usually let the character movement aim left or right because not only am I
Bad
aiming,
person,
but I'm
whoever
also
sniped
offering
me.
defensive
Bad.
maneuvers to dodge bullets as well. So that whole concept is just ingrained into me so hard as a SOCOMmer that when I switch over to mouse and keyboard, like I have to hold back my SOCOM habits. I almost have to block them at first until I can get comfortable with the controls and then start like infusing some SOCOM strategy into stuff
I did
because
not know,
I
my
automatically
love.
get into that mentality of aiming, and that does not work on PC shooters at all. But to your point though, like the whole King of the Mountain H1Z1 dude, I've been watching a lot of streaming the last couple of years, of course.
I watch
Stay
a
on
lot
top of esports and stuff, and man, it's fascinating to watch those games. They get really intense.
Yeah, I watch mostly the doc if I'm ever looking to see somebody play some battle royale games. I played 2 rounds of H1Z1 in my life, and I still haven't even tried the other stuff because, again, it's once I know Battlegrounds is coming to Xbox One first, but if it does come to PS4, I'll definitely give it a crack if I haven't switched over to PC by then. And I definitely want to give that whole thing a shot because I do find that the concept itself is very interesting, and I'm surprised that it hasn't really been attempted on this kind of scale before. I guess now that online gaming is as big as it's ever been, it's a bit more plausible, but it's
Would've been nice if you had a
something
mic right
that's
there.
definitely ripe for gaming creativity. It's just a concept that makes sense.
I will say this next year, I really plan to bring myself up to speed to PC shooters because I think I'm really behind. I spent too much time on console shooters, and I haven't spent very much time on PC shooters. Very little, and I need to get with the times. I think Big Fry's right. Like, it's not subjective at all. PC is where it's at. Absolutely.
Mouse and keyboard would destroy like most controller players. I'm telling you.
If you need a better example, you just go look at Overwatch, and you'll see it in a heartbeat.
I've got my preferences, obviously, because of what I'm used to, and my excuse when it comes to why I'm shit at keyboard shooters is because you don't get the range of movement speeds as easily. Like on a joystick, you can walk, or you can jog, or you can sprint, all basically with the same kind of motion, but it's very intuitive. Whereas if I'm playing Counter-Strike, I gotta hold shift or some shit to walk and not be heard. Or crouch or something like that. And that's why basically Counter-Strike is a terrible game, and everybody that plays it, they're idiots. And
Whoa.
No.
I'll tell you
what it is right now. PC gaming requires you to use your ring finger and your pinky finger. Console gaming, it's really only 3 fingers on each hand. Just traditionally, I know there's exceptions out there, But it's traditionally just your thumb, pointer, and middle. Yeah, I mean, those are really the only fingers that you're using, and so you're not really used to using those other fingers in muscle memory, unless you're like a piano player or something, and you're just used to using them anyways. I mean, it's a real big difference. You're increasing the number of digits that you're using to control things by 40%. I mean, that's a humongous difference. And a lot of people, when they move their pinky, their ring finger moves too. So it's hard to, if you haven't memorized that keyboard and have the muscle memory to instantly be able to hit random keys. And that's the other thing too, right? It's hard enough as a peon console gamer to learn all the controls on just a controller. But then to have to memorize all the letters and everything else for every other thing on a PC game, I mean, you have to invest yourself. It's another skill curve on some games when it comes to PC. Some PC games are really easy though. I mean, it's very, very simple. But most of the games that we're interested in, it's going to require a lot of time.
And I mean, this debate's been had millions of times before by millions of people, but I think I like controllers better just because of the ergonomics and because they're more applicable to gaming in general. Like, obviously, shooters, the keyboard and mouse is the way you want to go if you want to be competitive or if you want to have the best aiming experience. But when it comes to racing games, a joystick is fine. You might want a racing wheel if you're really hardcore, but the joystick works. Stuff like that. But I mean, again, that's not really anything new that I'm saying, I guess. But I mean, I just need to get used to the keyboard and mouse because my experience with it is little, and it shows every time I use one. I still type. I don't type like a normal person. Like, I don't have my hands set the right way. I basically just do the fucking Homer Simpson, move my 2 index fingers around at high speed. If that makes any sense. I don't do it right, and that's not a good start.
Well, guys, we're definitely pushing 2 hours here, so.
Oh yeah. Before we do end up starting to turn in, is there any pressing things that you wanted to get out or that we want to cover before we go so that we don't forget or anything like that?
Me personally, no. I don't know if Luke's got anything he wants to get off his chest or anything we didn't cover for him.
I don't know. Is he still there, or am I not picking him up?
Oh, sorry, guys. I can unmute real quick. The only final thought I want to leave is remember why they're doing all this to begin with. Like, we're all just want to have fun and play some games. Some people are finding that in other games, and they're continuing to grow their channels and stuff, and that's great because those people are going to be badasses when a new SOCOM comes out, and we need people who are prominent YouTubers and prominent Twitch streamers. Let those people build their communities and support them. If they're a SOCOM fan and there's no SOCOM and they're playing other games, support their content, man, because they're going to come back around for all of us later. They are. We're all one big family, man. Like, just calm down, have some fun, let go of some old rivalries. I can't say that enough, and I don't mean between companies. I mean between brothers. Like, some of y'all posted alongside each other for 8 years, and just let some shit go. Like, let's all have some fun again. You know what I mean? Some of these companies out here, I can't tell you what to do when it comes to companies. You either support them or you don't. Do what makes you happy. Just do what makes you happy, and think twice before you shit on somebody else's fun, especially when we're all part of the same community. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I found that, and I've said this a couple times on the forums, I found that now that we have our own Discord server and we're able to talk to each other vocally, sort of not face to face, but like one-to-one or in a small group, and it's actual like instant feedback rather than I typed this and then 4 hours later he said something back to me and we got snippy or something like that. It's a lot more personable and it's a lot more civil. And it's actually a lot more fun for me because you get to hear the voices of the people that you've conversed with for years sometimes, especially for the OGs that have been on TRS for how long. You get to, I guess, talk to people in a different setting, and it sort of gives you a reality check almost. At least for me, anyways. I don't want to.
Yeah, I can't tell you. I can't tell you how many times I was in forum wars with people and then jumped into a room on a community night or something, and it was like we had known each other forever and just had a great fucking time, and we never got into a mean forum spat again. There's guys listening to this podcast who didn't like me in forums, and jumped in a game with me and just hung out with me, and we've never been the same since. And I think a lot of people need to realize that. You know what I mean? And just wake the fuck up a little bit, and just remember why we're all here. Don't forget it.
Apparently, I need to go back to remembering that as well.
Shit, HTK and I used to get in some bad forum spats all the time, man. And he wound up living in the same town I did. And I went over to a party at his apartment one night, and within a month, we were doing episode 3 of SOCast. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you guys. I think you're very right. We're all real people, and we're real fans. And we all want a SOCOM. But there's only so much we can do, man. Like, we're at the mercy of some other companies. Unless one of you guys want to pony up $30 million and try to convince Sony, you still have to convince them they own the copyright. We're at somebody else's mercy, so let's sit back and have a little fun and not kill each other. Let's just kill each other in game, not real life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all I got, man. I need to shut up now.
Yeah, I think we've covered mostly everything, I think.
We've definitely covered everything at this point. Luke, fucking thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate you taking your time out on a Sunday night to talk SOCOM with us, man. Made my night.
Absolutely.
Made my
week.
To the world. I appreciate the opportunity, guys.
That's going to do it for, what is this, episode 11 of the Spicy Sausage?
11 or 12. I should probably know, but...
It's 11 if you don't count the E3 as a fully fledged episode.
Yeah.
So with that being said, guys, once again, thanks to the legendary, the one, the only Lukenbacher for taking his time out to talk shit with us. Thank you to Mr. Blonde for once again coming out to talk with me once again for all this bullshit. And thank you to everybody out there in Twitchland.
Just letting you know.
That being said, guys, that's going to do a wrap for episode 11 of the Spicy Sausage. Thank you to everybody for coming out. Thanks to Luke, thanks to Blonde, and thank God for me. Just kidding, Jimquisition, don't sue me.
Rip. Stolen assets.
I can't wait to play with everybody on X-Link, man. I'll be on all week.
All right, guys, I'm putting a wrap on it. For Mr. Blonde and Lukenbacher, this is Tawok saying good night and God bless.
Good night, Harry.
You crazy mother...